Some of my friends, they tell me like, tonight I'm going to, just my boyfriend's home and then have dinner with their families. I was say,
Hi everyone! Welcome back to my channel. I'm Sally Go, your favorite Chindo girl. So welcome back to the part 2 of our talk with my friend right here, Elena from China. If you haven't watched the first part yet, feel free to watch it first. I'll put it here, the link, and then in the description box below. There we talk about Elena's perspective about Chinese Indonesian. It's super fun, you guys, so check that out and let's get started. Now we're going to talk about your perspective about Chinese Malaysians. Since we both used to live in Malaysia for some time, we sure do have quite a lot of Chinese Malaysian friends, right?
yeah.
And do you have any difficulties making friends with the Chinese or like Malaysians in general last time when you moved to Malaysia?
I have to say the biggest challenge should be like culture. I mean, we have the same race, but there are a lot of ideas we are like, just totally different. Malaysia has been, just being colonized by the UK before. So actually like they're more like open-minded, much more open than the traditional like Chinese ideas. So so I found that it's really good to talk with them because I can see there are just a lot of like different perspectives between us, although we are like look the same, right?
Oh wow, interesting. Can I know like some that you feel like this one is just totally different?
Maybe if you have a boyfriend in China, I mean, like, except for some of the, big cities like Guangzhou, Shanghai, or like Beijing, like, especially for a girl who just find a boyfriend, the parents would like to say that somehow their backgrounds first, their families background, and then there's being educated, like, well, some of the families, they will not allow them to just to dating. I have to say, like, if you want to like go travel, and then they probably will say no because you have to like go home before like 7 p.m, something like that. But when I was in Malaysia, some of my friends, they tell me like, tonight I'm going to, just my boyfriend's home and then have dinner with their families. I was say,
what?
Really? I like to say, yeah, because, like, I was actually like born and raised in quite small city in Shandong. So my relatives and my grandparents, they're really quite traditional. So somehow they will just say, boyfriend and husband is totally different. I mean, like, after marriage, you can do something, but before marriage, you two are still like girlfriend and boyfriend. It's like totally different. And then when I was in Malaysia, I was like to say, they got so many freedom.
I understand. Actually, I thought you guys are also like that.
I think people who from like maybe like Shanghai or Beijing, they could be that my parents should be, just quite traditional at the past. But, after I just, study abroad, I just like force them to just understand some of my, new ideas from the US or something like that. And then for now, they say, okay, just go with your boyfriend, do whatever.
Actually, when we talk about Chinese Malaysians, right? I think partly also because most of my friends are free thinkers.
But I was like actually found something interesting about some of Chinese like costumes. Yeah, I would just spend like 1 year in Malaysia to celebrate Chinese New Year. And you know what? There are like a lot of like a huge amounts of activities.
Yes.
And then for like chore you can do like a lot of things.
And by the way, for you guys that are confused, like what is chore? Like basically chore is like the day, the Chinese New Year day. Yeah, it's like first day of New Year, second day of New Year, third day of New Year until 15. Yeah, so if you guys are like confused, like what is chore? What is that?
And then in chore liu, I think like 拜天公, it's like in China actually we don't have that kind of like costumes anymore. We just just eat dumplings with my families and then just watch the Spring Festival Gala with my family members and then just receive hongbao from my parents and then just visit some of my relatives and then it's done. That is our
Oh.
Chinese New Year. It's really boring, really dull during Chinese New Year. And our parents, they will just not force us to wear something like red anymore. Although I thought like, for some of the Malaysian Chinese, they're really, just open-minded. But for like celebrating some of the Chinese festivals, I think they're like much more
very
traditional
into it.
than us.
Wow.
Yeah. Some of my friends, they only like post their family photos. All of the girls, they're wearing like qipao, and then for men, they will just wear like, I don't know, in Mandarin we call it like a tanzhuang, it's zhongshanzhong, something like that. And then in China, like even in some of the big cities, whatever color you want to wear for Chinese New Year. I really enjoy the vibes in Malaysia. It's so much fun there.
Wow, I didn't know this. This is something new, you guys. I didn't kind of like expect Malaysia to have such like a long holiday for Chinese New Year, but they do have like a long holiday during Chinese New Year. For us, we have 1 day. So what about you?
Actually, for students, they call it like a winter holiday, which is also like covers the Spring Festival. But for people who have already like worked, they got like around like 7 or 8 days.
I see. 1 week basically. What about, is there anything special that you learned from the Chinese Malaysian while living in Malaysia? Something that maybe you brought back home?
I remember that when I was like spending a dinner with 4 of my best friends, and then all of them are actually like Malaysian Chinese. We're eating 奶油鸡饭. Do you know that?
奶油鸡饭,
It's really good.
什么东西?
It's
What's
like
that?
butter chicken rice.
Oh, butter chicken rice. I see. Okay.
Yeah,
It's very famous.
and then
in
Hannah
Malaysia.
was like, just full, and then I just eat maybe like half of them. And then all of them, they have like criticized me. All of the farmers, they're spending like so much time, just doing that. And then you're just like, half of them, and then you don't want to eat that. I was like being educated, but I was like, so, I have to
Like-
do that. I feel like, most of the Chinese people, they have kind of like a concept called 面子. It's like some of your face.
Yep,
It's like
yeah, I understand.
you
means-
cannot eat everything because that will just demonstrate maybe you're like you
Very-
don't have like any money to eat. Yeah,
I heard about
and
this,
then-
but I didn't know it's true.
Yeah,
It's true.
true. Like if you have like a family dinner with your maybe like your dad's friend, like something like that, eating like everything, they will say, looks like your mom didn't cook for you in your home or something like that.
Leave something behind to make it look like it's like enough for me, I'm not that kind of person. It's true, actually. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
So when in
It's
Malaysia,
true, I have to like eat.
you eat everything.
Yeah, you have to eat like all of them.
We do have that also here. Like, just finish your food. For me, when I was a kid, this is not from my parents, but I would say people just told me like, you will have ugly boyfriend if you don't finish everything in your plate.
I think it's like the semester 1, and then we had a dinner together. At the time, I didn't like know anything about Malaysian kind of like the culture. And then I said, I pay that. And then they said, why?
No.
I was like,
why?
why?
Yeah. I would ask the same thing. Yeah, like why? Why? Is it like a special occasion? Yeah, I think
like totally different between cultures.
I think I think Chinese Indonesians are more towards the Chinese Malaysians culture. We're kind of like more similar compared to the ones from China. I think so. Because like we also do AA here.
I think this is actually a quite, different concept between, just Chinese Malaysian and, China Chinese, because we can relate into the 面子 again.
What about boyfriend, girlfriend? Let's say you're like close to someone like a guy. Do you pay AA?
I have to say we have to like pay the AA, but I think from my perspective, because we don't have a kind of like a relationship yet, so I think I should pay for this. But let's say we just got a kind of like a renewing party. I mean, like there's so many like my classmates. We just had a dinner together, so maybe at the time, maybe there's someone who just said, just I'll pay for this, something like that.
Whoa!
But AA is not so like frequent in workplace, because you're just really not like really familiar with your colleagues. So if you guys would like to just have a dinner, you guys just AA.
Since like most of you guys all speak Chinese, right? how different or like how the same it can be for you guys? Is there anything that make it hard to communicate or like maybe miscommunication because of the different slang or like, I don't know, is there anything like that?
Yeah, I think it is actually quite different because for my friends, they can speak quite good Mandarin, but they cannot write. I mean, like most of them cannot write, but just like some of them who just from like Chinese high school, I mean like Huaxiao or like something like that. I remember that like 5 of us, we hanging out together. If I maybe just busy like texting someone or, you know, just reply someone's email, and then like 4 of them, they will just automatically transfer to Cantonese. And then I was like, after I just, you know, just reconnect to them, we were just like still like speaking like Mandarin. I mean, like for most of them, I think Cantonese and Hokkien, also like Hakka, something like that, will be much more, I mean, yeah, fluency, you know, just fluent than Mandarin. So this is actually quite different.
Yeah, lastly, is there anything else that maybe you want to say to the audience?
Yeah, I think I really like Malaysia because the culture there quite similar to China's one, but it's a little bit different. So I really like to, you know, just observe like some of the, you know, just diversify opinions. And after the COVID, I'll definitely like visit Sally in Indonesia.
Yes! I also love Malaysia and I would love to visit China also and meet you if it's possible in the future. Yeah. And we should meet up in Malaysia also. I miss uni life. I miss like chit-chatting and like meeting up with people. I miss that so much. Really. Anyway, Elina, thank you so much for being here and sharing your thoughts with us. And thank you.
Thanks for having me as well. Thank you. Bye.